They vanished on a dream trip to Alaska, but what was pulled from the water months later shocked everyone. It started as the ultimate family adventure. David and Mary Maynard packed up their two young sons, Colton and Brantley, and hit the road from Texas to Alaska. No one expected what came next. One moment they were smiling in travel photos, and the next the entire family had disappeared. No calls, no trace, just silence. Then, months later, deep in the icy waters of Kachemak Bay, divers found something: a submerged boat, human remains, and a mystery that left more questions than answers. David and Mary Maynard were an ordinary American couple chasing extraordinary memories. David, 42, was a father first. He ran a small lawn care business and spent most of his time raising their sons, Colton and Brantley, back home in Troy, Texas. Mary, 37, was a dedicated traveling nurse, hardworking, kind, and well loved in every community she served. Together, they made a solid team. Their two sons were their pride: Colton, just 11 years old, and Brantley, only 8. The family was known for being close-knit, always outdoors, and always looking for their next big adventure. In the summer of 2024, they planned a road trip that felt like something out of a dream, driving across the country to Alaska. It wasn't just a vacation, it was a once-in-a-lifetime journey to explore the wild. They packed up the RV, gathered the essentials, and left behind the routine of Texas life for a bucket list expedition to America's last frontier. No one knew it would be the last time they'd ever be seen alive. The Maynards weren't just going on a weekend getaway. This was a full-blown cross-country expedition. In the summer of 2024, they left Texas behind with excitement and wide-open plans to explore the vast landscapes of Alaska, from wild forests to glacier-carved coasts. They were traveling in an RV, posting updates along the way to friends and family. Smiling road trip photos, peaceful nature shots, and quick check-ins told the story of a family living their dream. Alaska, with its raw beauty and remote adventures, had always been on their radar. It was the perfect mix of wilderness and wonder for a family who loved the outdoors. But somewhere along that trail, sometime in August 2024, everything went quiet. The updates stopped. The calls didn't come. There were no more pictures, no more check-ins. And just like that, the Maynards disappeared. Their loved ones back home waited, hoped, and then feared the worst. The last known activity of the Maynard family was in Homer, Alaska, a scenic town on the edge of Kachemak Bay famous for its rugged coastline and deep, icy waters. On that August day in 2024, the family boarded a 28-foot aluminum boat along with 4 other people. The plan? A casual boating trip on the bay. Nothing risky, just another adventure. But something went horribly wrong. At some point during the outing, the boat began taking on water. What caused it, weather, equipment failure, or something else, still isn't fully clear. All we know is that the vessel capsized about 16 miles offshore in cold, dangerous waters. 4 of the passengers, none of them Maynards, were rescued by another boat that happened to be nearby. But David, Mary, Colton, and Brantley vanished. No distress signal, no life vests washing ashore, no wreckage found. The family seemed to have been swallowed whole by the sea. And from that moment on, the story went cold. As soon as word got out that 4 people were rescued, but the Maynard family was missing, the situation escalated fast. The U.S. Coast Guard launched an urgent and large-scale search operation. Helicopters flew over Kachemak Bay. Boats scoured the icy waves. Divers searched the shallows. Sonar was deployed to scan the depths. For days, search crews battled brutal conditions, cold water, rough currents, limited visibility, hoping to spot something. A life jacket, a body, even just a piece of the boat. But nothing was found. It was like the Maynards had vanished off the face of the earth. Online theories began swirling. Some questioned the condition of the boat. Others pointed at the other passengers who survived. Why them and not the Maynards? Was it just an accident? Or was something more being left unsaid? But without evidence, everything remained speculation. The case slowly slipped out of the headlines. The Coast Guard ended their official search after exhausting all leads. For months, the bay held its secrets deep, dark, and silent. Back home in Troy, Texas, the news hit hard. The Maynards weren't just another missing family on the internet. They were neighbors, classmates, patients, and friends. The town came together fast, organizing prayer vigils, support groups, and emotional gatherings to keep hope alive. People couldn't accept that a whole family could disappear on a simple boat ride. A GoFundMe campaign was launched to support the extended family, who were not only grieving but facing costs tied to search efforts, travel, and legal needs. The response was overwhelming. Over $21,000 was raised in just weeks. Donations came not just from locals, but from strangers across the country, moved by the heartbreaking story of two young boys and their parents lost at sea. The family's church and school district released statements mourning the likely loss and celebrating the Maynards' legacy. Mary was remembered as a nurse who brought comfort everywhere she worked. David was praised for his kindness and devotion as a full-time dad. Still, there were no bodies, no boat, no answers, just grief and silence. Months passed. The Coast Guard had called off the search. Official agencies had moved on. But the Maynards' loved ones and the community that stood behind them refused to let the case fade. In early 2025, 3 private marine companies stepped up. Support Vessels of Alaska, Vision Subsea, and Benthic Geoscience Inc. These weren't just volunteer divers, they were pros, specialists in deepwater recovery. They brought the kind of advanced sonar, submersible equipment, and mapping tools the Coast Guard didn't use after their search was called off. Their mission: find the boat, find the truth. Working in partnership with local volunteers and with funds raised by the community, these teams scanned the icy waters of Kachemak Bay grid by grid, foot by foot. And finally, in May 2025, they made a chilling breakthrough. On a cold day in May 2025, nearly 9 months after the Maynards vanished, the private search teams located something eerie beneath the surface of Kachemak Bay at a depth of 180 feet. Sonar scanners picked up the unmistakable shape of a sunken boat. When divers reached it, the pieces began to fall into place. It was the same 28-foot aluminum vessel the Maynard family had boarded back in August. Inside the wreckage, divers discovered what everyone had feared: 3 sets of human remains were found trapped inside the boat. The remains were immediately turned over to the Alaska State Medical Examiner's Office for autopsies and DNA identification. While authorities didn't publicly confirm the identities at that exact moment, the location, timing, and evidence left little doubt this was the Maynards. The 4th body, possibly still inside or nearby, hadn't yet been recovered, but the truth was finally rising to the surface. After months of mystery, the Maynards had finally been found, but the questions were far from over. Once the remains were pulled from the sunken boat, they were transported to the Alaska State Medical Examiner's Office in Anchorage. The goal: confirm identities, determine cause of death, and finally give answers to the family and the public. As of the latest reports, DNA testing and autopsies were underway, with authorities cautiously indicating that the remains were believed to be David, Mary, and one of their sons. The 4th family member, likely still in the wreck or nearby seabed, had yet to be recovered at the time of discovery. Though formal identification was pending, investigators said there was no evidence of foul play. All signs pointed to accidental drowning caused by the capsizing of the boat. That said, no one has publicly explained why the boat took on water. What caused it? Was it a structural issue? Was it overloaded? Did weather play a part? These questions remain, and the full report hasn't been released yet. For the Maynards' surviving relatives, this was a step toward closure, but not the end of the nightmare. The discovery of the Maynards' submerged boat brought some closure, but not peace. There are still so many unanswered questions. Why did the boat capsize when 4 other passengers survived? Why wasn't there a distress call? What exactly caused the vessel to go down in the first place? And maybe the hardest question of all, could this have been prevented? As of now, authorities have not released a full investigative report. No criminal charges were filed, and the surviving boat passengers whose names have not been made public have not spoken in detail. That silence only deepens the pain for those who loved the Maynards. What remains is heartbreak, but also memory. David, Mary, Colton, and Brantley are remembered not for how they died, but for how they lived, as a family that loved deeply, explored bravely, and left a mark on everyone they met. Their community in Troy, Texas still holds vigils, their friends still post tributes, and their story is now one that echoes far beyond Alaska, a reminder of life's fragility and how even the safest adventures can turn into tragedy in an instant. May they rest in peace, and may the truth, all of it, still come to light.